I woke up in complete darkness. Not the darkness of a room at night. Not the darkness when you close your eyes. The kind of darkness that feels like it's pressing against your face, suffocating you, swallowing you whole. My hands hit wood above me. Rough, splintered wood just inches from my nose. I tried to move my legs. More wood. I turned my head left, then right. Wood on both sides. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it would explode right out of my chest. I was in a box. A coffin. And I was underground. The air was thick, hard to breathe, running out fast. My chest tightened with every breath. Panic shot through my body like electricity. I screamed, but the sound just bounced back at me, trapped in this tiny wooden prison. Then the memories came flooding back. The wine Marcus poured me at dinner. His smile. That loving, gentle smile I'd trusted for 7 years. The way the room started spinning. My legs giving out. His face looking down at me as I collapsed. And his eyes. Cold. Empty. Evil. "I'm sorry, baby," he'd whispered. "But I need that money more than I need you. The life insurance. $2 million. He was cashing me in like I was nothing more than a lottery ticket. Marcus had drugged me, declared me dead somehow, and buried me alive. But he made one huge mistake. The sedative wore off early. I was awake, alive, and absolutely furious. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The panic was taking over, making me claw at the wood like an animal. But that wouldn't save me. Panic would just use up the little oxygen I had left faster. Stop. Breathe slowly. Think. I forced myself to calm down. My therapist had taught me breathing exercises years ago for my anxiety. I never thought I'd use them while buried alive, but here we were. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Again. Again. My mind started clearing. I needed a plan. I needed a way out. My hands moved across my body, searching for anything useful. My dress, my shoes, wait, my locket. Grandmother's locket. The heavy silver one Marcus always said was too old-fashioned. It had sharp edges, a thick chain. I yanked it off my neck and felt the edges in the darkness. Not sharp like a knife, but hard enough. Maybe, just maybe. I pressed the edge of the locket against the coffin lid above me and started scraping. The wood was cheap, thin. Marcus went budget even when killing me. Typical. As I scraped, my mind raced backward. The signs. They were all there. I'd just been too blind, too trusting, too stupid to see them. 6 months ago, Marcus suddenly wanted to update our life insurance policies. Said it was responsible, smart planning. I didn't question it. Why would I? He was my husband. He asked weird questions. What time did I leave for work? Did I always take the same route? Who knew my schedule? And the funeral home job. Marcus had started managing Henderson Funeral Home 8 months ago. He came home talking about caskets, burial procedures, death certificates. I thought he was just venting about work. He wasn't venting. He was planning. Planning this. Planning me. Planning my murder. The locket scraped and scraped. My fingers were bleeding now, slippery, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. Then finally, I felt it give. A tiny hole opened up in the wood. Dirt immediately started trickling through. Cold, damp earth falling onto my face. I wanted to scream, but I forced myself to stay calm. Dirt meant I was close to the surface. Dirt meant there was a way out. But dirt also meant I could suffocate faster if I wasn't careful. I took the locket chain, the part that was hollow, and carefully pushed it up through the hole. It was thin, maybe the width of a straw, but it went through. Air. Real air from above ground rushed through that tiny tube. I put my mouth to the bottom of the chain and breathed. It wasn't much, barely anything, but it was something. It bought me time. As I lay there, breathing through that thin chain, sucking in tiny sips of air, I thought about Sophie, my baby girl, my whole world. Only 5 years old, with her father's dark curls and my green eyes. Marcus told her I had a heart attack. Sudden, tragic, nothing anyone could do. I know because I heard her crying. Heard her little voice saying, "Mommy, wake up, please wake up." I was there. At my own funeral. Unconscious in the coffin while my daughter stood above me sobbing. While Marcus held her hand and played the grieving husband. While people said how sorry they were, how tragic it all was. He let our daughter say goodbye to me while I was still alive underground. That thought, that image of Sophie's tear-stained face, filled me with something stronger than fear. Rage. Pure, burning, unstoppable rage. Marcus thought he'd won. Thought he'd gotten away with it. Thought he'd collect $2 million and live happily ever after with our daughter and probably some other woman he'd been hiding. He was wrong. So incredibly wrong. I was getting out of this coffin. And when I did, Marcus would regret the day he ever thought he could bury me. I kept scraping at the hole, making it wider, bit by bit. My hands were shaking from exhaustion. My arms felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. But I couldn't stop. Every few minutes, I'd put my mouth back to that chain and breathe. The dirt kept falling through the widening hole. I used my hands to push it to the sides of the coffin, creating a little space, a small pocket of air around my face. It wasn't much, but it helped. As I worked, my mind wouldn't stop racing. It kept circling back to her. Vanessa Cole, Marcus's business partner at the funeral home. She'd appeared in our lives about 6 months ago. Right around the same time Marcus wanted to update the life insurance. Coincidence? I didn't think so anymore. Marcus started bringing her up at dinner. Vanessa thinks we should expand the business. Vanessa has such great ideas. Vanessa and I are working late tonight. I'd seen them together at the company holiday party 2 months ago. The way she touched his arm. The way she laughed at everything he said. The way she looked at him like I wasn't even standing right there. I'd asked Marcus about it that night. Is something going on with you and Vanessa? He'd laughed. Actually laughed. Baby, she's just a colleague. You're being paranoid. So I swallowed my concerns. Pushed down my gut feeling. Told myself I was being insecure and jealous for no reason. But my gut was right. It was always right. I remembered the expensive watch that appeared on Marcus's wrist 3 months ago. Vanessa gave it to me, he'd said. For closing a big deal. What kind of colleague gives a married man a $5,000 watch? The kind who's sleeping with him. The kind who's planning a future with him. The kind who knows his wife is about to have a very convenient accident. She knew. Vanessa knew what Marcus was going to do to me. She might have even helped him plan it. $2 million split 2 ways. A new life together. No messy divorce. No splitting assets. Just a tragic widow and a supportive business partner falling in love after loss. I scraped harder at the coffin lid, anger giving me new strength. The hole was finally big enough for my fist. I punched through it, feeling the dirt give way above me. Cold, damp earth packed tight, but it was movable. I could do this. I started clawing at the dirt like a wild animal, pulling it down, shoving it to the sides of the coffin, packing it around my body. Every handful felt like it weighed 50 pounds. My arms screamed in pain. My fingernails were broken and bleeding. But I kept going. Dig. Breathe through the chain. Dig. Breathe. Dig. Breathe. The dirt kept falling on my face, in my hair, in my mouth. I had to keep spitting it out, turning my head to the side so I wouldn't choke. The space inside the coffin was getting tighter as I pulled more earth down, but the hole above was getting bigger. I could feel it. I was making progress. As I worked, my mind pieced together how Marcus had pulled this off. He couldn't have done it alone. Too many people involved in a death. Too many official documents. The coroner. Marcus must have paid off the coroner. Dr. Raymond Chen had been at our house that night. I remembered his face hovering above me as I collapsed. Remembered him checking my pulse, shaking his head sadly. I'm sorry, Marcus. She's gone. Lies. All lies. Dr. Chen declared me dead while my heart was still beating. While I was just unconscious from whatever drug Marcus had given me. How much did it cost? 10,000? 20? 50? However much it was, Marcus thought it was worth it for $2 million. And the funeral home. Of course, Marcus had access to everything. Death certificates, burial permits, cemetery records. He could forge whatever he needed. He could schedule the burial quickly, before anyone asked too many questions. Private ceremony, he probably told people. She wanted it small, just family. And the location. I remembered Marcus mentioning he'd chosen a plot in the old section of Riverside Cemetery. The far corner, away from the main road, away from other graves, away from anyone who might visit and hear sounds coming from underground. He'd thought of everything, every single detail. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was calculated, cold-blooded murder disguised as natural death. But Marcus made one critical error. He underestimated me. He thought I'd just die quietly in this box. Thought I'd accept my fate. He was about to learn how wrong he was. I dug and dug until my hands felt like they would fall off. The hole above me was getting bigger. More air was coming through. I could feel the dirt getting looser, less packed. And then, suddenly, my hand broke through completely. Into open air. Into the night sky. I gasped. Actually gasped out loud. Fresh air rushed into the hole, into the coffin, into my lungs. Real air. Clean air. The most beautiful air I'd ever breathed in my entire life. Tears streamed down my dirt-covered face. I was going to make it. I was actually going to make it out of here. But I wasn't free yet. Not even close. I still had to widen the hole enough to fit my body through. Had to pull myself up through 6 feet of loose dirt that could collapse on me at any second and suffocate me anyway. I rested for a moment, just breathing, letting oxygen fill my lungs. My whole body was shaking. From exhaustion, from fear, from relief. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Above ground. Walking on grass. My entire body went rigid. Someone was up there. Walking near my grave. Right now. My heart pounded so loud I was sure whoever it was could hear it through the dirt. I held my breath, listening, trying to figure out who it was. The footsteps were slow. Casual. Not running. Not panicked. Just walking. Was it Marcus? Had he come back to check? To make sure I was really dead? To make sure the job was done? Oh God, what if he heard me digging? What if he saw the disturbed dirt? What if he knew I was alive and came back to finish what he started? Or was it someone else? A groundskeeper? A visitor to another grave? Someone who could help me? I wanted to scream. Wanted to yell, help me, I'm down here, I'm alive. But what if it was Marcus? What if screaming brought him right to me and he found a way to kill me for real this time? The footsteps stopped. Right above me. Right over my grave. I could hear breathing. Someone was standing directly over the hole my hand had made. Standing there. Listening. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't make a single sound. Please don't be Marcus. Please don't be Marcus. Please don't be Marcus. A beam of light suddenly cut through the darkness. Bright, blinding, shining directly through the hole I'd made. I squeezed my eyes shut against it. Hello? A woman's voice. Confused. Concerned. Is someone down there? Not Marcus. Not a man's voice. A woman. I didn't think. I just screamed. Yes. Help me. Please help me. I'm buried alive. Oh my God. The woman's voice went high with panic. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on. I'm calling 911 right now. I heard her footsteps running. Heard her talking fast into a phone. Yes, 911, I'm at Riverside Cemetery, the old section. There's someone buried alive. A woman. She's underground. She's talking to me. Please hurry. I started crying. Really crying. Sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. Someone found me. Someone was helping me. I wasn't going to die down here. Within minutes, I heard sirens. Multiple sirens. Cars pulling up. Doors slamming. Voices shouting. Radio chatter. Fire department. We're coming to get you. Stay calm. Can you tell us your name? Elena, I shouted up through the hole. My name is Elena Martinez. My husband buried me alive. Silence. Complete silence above ground. Then chaos. Did she just say her husband buried her? Get the police here now. We need excavation equipment. Careful with the dig. That coffin could collapse. I felt vibrations through the earth as they started digging around the coffin. The sound of shovels hitting dirt. The sound of machinery. The sound of my rescue. Elena, we're going to get you out, okay? Just hold on a little longer. You're doing great. My daughter, I choked out. Sophie, she's 5. She's with him. With my husband. Please, ma'am, save your strength. We'll handle everything. Just focus on breathing. The digging continued. Faster now. More dirt fell away from the coffin. I could hear them clearly now, like they were right next to me instead of above me. Then suddenly, fresh air flooded in as they pried the coffin lid completely open. Hands reached down. Strong hands. Gentle hands. We've got you. We've got you. They lifted me out carefully. My legs wouldn't work. My whole body was limp. I couldn't stand. 2 firefighters carried me up, out of the grave, onto solid ground. The night air hit my face. I'd never felt anything so beautiful. The ambulance rushed me to Memorial Hospital. Paramedics wrapped me in blankets, put an oxygen mask on my face, started in my arm. They kept saying I was lucky to be alive, that they'd never seen anything like this, that I was a miracle. I didn't feel like a miracle. I felt like a mother whose daughter was alone with a murderer. At the hospital, doctors checked everything. My heart rate, my oxygen levels, my injuries. Dehydration, they said. Shock. Bruised ribs. Cuts and scrapes all over my hands. Dirt in my lungs. But alive. Somehow, impossibly alive. A woman in a dark blazer walked into my hospital room an hour later. She had kind eyes but a serious face. Mrs. Martinez, I'm Detective Sarah Chen. I need to ask you some questions about what happened. I told her everything. The drugged wine. Marcus planning my murder. The life insurance policy. Vanessa. The funeral home connections. How he buried me alive and left me to die. Detective Chen's face got harder with every word I said. She wrote everything down in her notebook, her pen moving fast across the pages. Mrs. Martinez, I need to ask you something very important. Where is your daughter right now? My heart stopped. She's home. With Marcus. Oh God, she's with Marcus. Detective Chen was already on her phone. This is Chen. I need units at 428, Maple Grove Road immediately. Suspect is Marcus Martinez, wanted for attempted murder. There's a 5-year-old child in the home, possibly in danger. Approach with caution. She hung up and looked at me. Elena, we're going to get Sophie. I promise you. We waited. 15 minutes felt like 15 hours. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. What if Marcus hurt Sophie? What if he ran? What if he realized I'd escaped and panicked? Detective Chen's phone rang. She answered it, listened, and her face changed. Fell. Got dark. What? I whispered. What is it? She lowered the phone slowly. Elena, the house is empty. Marcus is gone. Sophie is gone. His car is gone. Security cameras show him loading suitcases into his vehicle around 7 o'clock this evening. The room started spinning. No, 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 no. Neighbors say he told them he was taking Sophie to visit his mother for a few days. Said you just passed away and he needed family support. He took my baby. My voice broke. He took Sophie and ran. Detective Chen put her hand on my shoulder. We've issued an Amber Alert. Every police officer in the state is looking for them. We've got his license plate, his photo, Sophie's photo. Airport security has been notified. Border Patrol is watching. He won't get far. But Marcus was smart. Calculating. He'd planned my murder perfectly. Who's to say he didn't plan an escape route just as carefully? My daughter was out there somewhere with a man who'd buried her mother alive for money. And I was stuck in this hospital bed, helpless. I ripped the 4 out of my arm. The nurse tried to stop me, but I didn't care. Mrs. Martinez, you need to rest. You've been through severe trauma. My daughter is missing. I'm not resting. Detective Chen tried to reason with me. Elena, you're in no condition to. I'm leaving this hospital right now. Either you take me to the police station so I can help find my daughter, or I'm walking there myself. She saw the look in my eyes and nodded. Okay, but Officer Rodriguez is staying with you. For your protection and support. A female officer stepped forward. Young, maybe 30, with a no-nonsense expression. I've got her, detective. At the police station, I sat in a cold conference room drinking terrible coffee while detectives worked. Phones ringing constantly. Computers clicking. People moving fast, urgently. Detective Chen came back in with a folder. She sat across from me, and her face told me the news wasn't good. Elena, we checked Marcus's bank accounts. He withdrew $50,000 in cash 2 days ago. Cleaned out your joint savings completely. 50,000. Escape money. He'd been preparing to run. His passport is missing from your home, she continued. We found his laptop search history. He'd been researching countries with no extradition treaties. Mexico, Brazil, Costa Rica. He's been planning this for a while. I felt sick. How long? Based on the searches? At least 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of planning my death. Of looking at me across the dinner table, kissing me goodnight, playing with Sophie, all while plotting to murder me and disappear. The neighbors, I said suddenly. He told them he was taking Sophie to visit his mother. Detective Chen nodded. We spoke to them. They said Marcus seemed calm, normal. Said he was grieving but holding it together for Sophie's sake. His mother died 3 years ago. My voice was flat. Cancer. We went to her funeral. Sophie was only 2, doesn't even remember her grandmother. Detective Chen's pen stopped moving. So the alibi he gave the neighbors was another lie. Everything is a lie with Marcus. He's been lying about everything. Officer Rodriguez brought me water. Mrs. Martinez, we're doing everything we can. Every cop in 3 states has their photos. If he tries to cross a border, we'll know. But I knew Marcus. He was smart, careful, patient. He wouldn't do something obvious like drive to Mexico. He'd have a plan, a good one. He doesn't care about Sophie, I said quietly. She's just a prop to him now. Something to make him look like a grieving father instead of a murderer. Or maybe she's leverage. Maybe he thinks if I survived somehow, Sophie is his insurance policy. The thought made me want to throw up. My baby girl was out there with a monster, and I had no idea where. Detective Chen's phone rang at midnight. She answered, listened, then her eyes snapped to mine. We've got a hit on Marcus's cell phone. It pinged off a tower near the state border. Motel 6 off Highway 47. I stood up immediately. I'm coming with you. Elena, that's not protocol. That's my daughter. I'm coming. Detective Chen looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Fine. But you stay in the car until we secure the scene. Understood? Understood. We piled into 2 unmarked police cars. No sirens. No lights. We couldn't risk Marcus hearing us coming and running again. Or worse, doing something desperate. I sat in the back seat next to Officer Rodriguez. The city lights faded behind us as we drove into the darkness. My heart pounded with every mile. 3 hours away. Sophie was only 3 hours away. Was she asleep? Was she scared? Was she crying for me? Did Marcus tell her anything? Did he say mommy was really gone? Or did he make up some other lie? Mrs. Martinez, Officer Rodriguez said softly. I need to prepare you for some possibilities. What possibilities? When we approach Marcus, he might try to use Sophie as leverage. As a hostage situation. It's important that you stay calm no matter what happens. My blood went cold. You think he'd hurt her? I think he's desperate. And desperate men do unpredictable things. I stared out the window at the dark highway rushing past. Marcus had drugged me, buried me alive, and stolen $2 million. What wouldn't he do at this point? But then I thought about it differently. Marcus was calculated, not emotional. He didn't do things in anger or panic. He planned. Everything he did had a purpose, a reason. Sophie was his cover story, his sympathy card. The grieving widower with his poor motherless daughter. Hurting Sophie would ruin that image. Would make him a suspect instead of a victim. No, he wouldn't hurt her. She was too valuable to his plan. At least, I hoped I was right. The rage that had been simmering inside me since I woke up in that coffin started burning hotter. I'd clawed my way out of my own grave. I'd survived 6 feet of dirt and hours of terror and the absolute certainty that I was going to die alone in the darkness. Marcus thought he'd won. Thought he'd killed me and gotten away with it. Thought he'd start a new life with Vanessa and $2 million and no consequences. He was about to learn exactly how wrong he was. Whatever came next, I was ready. And Marcus Martinez was going to pay for everything he'd done. We pulled into the Motel 6 parking lot at 2 in the morning. The place was run down, exactly the kind of cheap roadside place where nobody asked questions if you paid cash. Detective Chin pointed. That's his car. Silver Honda Accord. License plate matches. My heart jumped into my throat. That was Marcus's car. He was here. Sophie was here. The police moved quickly and quietly. Officers positioned themselves around the building. Detective Chan and 3 others approached room 117, the door with the beat-up green paint and the flickering number. I stayed in the car like I'd promised, but I opened the door so I could hear everything. Officer Rodriguez stayed next to me, her hand on her weapon. Detective Chen knocked. 3 hard, authoritative knocks. Police, open the door. Silence. Then movement inside. Footsteps. Something falling over. Police, we know you're in there, Mr. Martinez. Open the door now. More silence. Then Marcus's voice, muffled through the door. What's this about? Even now, even caught. He was still trying to play innocent. Marcus Martinez, you're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and kidnapping. Open this door immediately or we're coming in. A long pause. Then I heard it. Sophie's voice, crying. Daddy, I'm scared. What's happening? My entire body lurched forward. That was my baby. My Sophie. Right there behind that door. Officer Rodriguez grabbed my arm. Mrs. Martinez, stay here. The motel door opened slowly. And there he was. Marcus. My husband. The man I'd loved for 7 years. The man who'd buried me alive. He stood in the doorway holding Sophie in his arms. She was in her pajamas, the pink ones with the little unicorns. Her face was red from crying. Her arms were wrapped around Marcus's neck. He was using her as a shield, using our daughter as protection. Detective Chen's voice was cold as ice. Put the child down, Mr. Martinez. I don't understand what's happening. My wife just died. I'm taking my daughter to family. Why are you? Your wife is alive, Mr. Martinez. Marcus's face went completely white. All the color drained out of it like someone had pulled a plug. His mouth opened but no sound came out. And she's here. His eyes darted around the parking lot, searching, panicked. Then they landed on me, standing next to the police car, covered in bandages, alive. Our eyes met across the parking lot, and I smiled. Marcus's face went from white to gray. His whole body started shaking. No, that's impossible. You were, the doctor said. Put the child down. Detective Chen's hand moved to her weapon. Now. This is a mistake. A huge mistake. Marcus's voice was panicked now, nothing like the calm, controlled man who'd kissed me goodnight before drugging my wine. The doctors told me she died. Heart failure. I planned the funeral. I buried my wife. This is some kind of... You buried her alive. Detective Chen stepped closer. You drugged her, paid off a corrupt coroner, falsified a death certificate, and put her in the ground while her heart was still beating. Put the child down or we will take her from you by force. Sophie started crying harder. Daddy, what's happening? I want mommy. You said mommy was in heaven. Hearing my daughter's voice broke something inside me. I couldn't stay back anymore. I couldn't just stand there. Sophie, I called out. Baby, it's mommy. Sophie's head whipped around. Her eyes went huge. Mommy? She started struggling in Marcus's arms, reaching for me. Mommy, you're here. Daddy said you were gone. Put her down, Marcus. My voice was steady despite the tears running down my face. Don't make this worse than it already is. Marcus looked at Sophie, then at me, then at the 6 police officers surrounding him with weapons drawn. He had no moves left. No way out. No plan. He slowly bent down and set Sophie on the ground. She ran. My baby girl ran across that motel parking lot as fast as her little legs could carry her, crying, Mommy. I dropped to my knees and caught her in my arms. Held her so tight I thought I might break her. She was real. She was safe. She was here. Mommy, where were you? Daddy said you went to heaven. Why did he say that? I'm here now, baby. I'm here. Everything's okay. Behind us, I heard the click of handcuffs. Marcus Martinez, you're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and kidnapping. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Marcus was still stammering. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know she was alive. The doctors made a mistake. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. I looked up at him over Sophie's head. Our eyes met again. Save it for the judge, I said quietly. They led him to the police car. He kept looking back at me, his face a mixture of shock, fear, and disbelief. He thought I was dead, thought he'd gotten away with it perfectly, thought he was home free, but I'd clawed my way out of hell. And now, Marcus's hell was just beginning. At the police station, Sophie fell asleep in my lap. She was exhausted, confused, traumatized. She kept asking questions I couldn't answer yet. Why did Daddy say you were dead? Where were you? Why are the police mad at Daddy? I just held her and stroked her hair and told her everything would be okay, even though I had no idea if that was true. Officer Rodriguez brought me a blanket and a pillow. You can use the family room. It's more comfortable, has a couch. I want to see the interrogation. I want to watch him lie. She hesitated, then nodded. Detective Chen cleared it. Room 3, one-way glass. He won't know you're there. I carried Sophie to a small side room and laid her gently on a couch. She didn't even wake up. Then I walked to the observation room and stood in front of the glass. Marcus sat at a metal table in a tiny gray room. He looked smaller than I remembered, less powerful. His hands were cuffed to the table. His perfect hair was messy. His expensive shirt was wrinkled. Detective Chen sat across from him with a thick folder. Let's start from the beginning, Mr. Martinez. Tuesday night. Walk me through what happened. I already told you. Elena collapsed at dinner. I called 911. Dr. Chen came and pronounced her dead. Heart failure. She had a heart condition. It was always a risk. Dr. Raymond Chen. The coroner. Yes. The same Dr. Chen who deposited $30,000 into his bank account the day before your wife's death? Marcus's face twitched. I don't know anything about that. Detective Chen opened the folder and slid a bank statement across the table. That's your account. Withdrawal of $30,000. Same day Dr. Chen made his deposit. Interesting coincidence. I needed cash for funeral expenses. Funeral expenses you paid 2 days before your wife died? Marcus said nothing. Detective Chen pulled out another paper. This is the wine bottle from your kitchen trash. We tested it. Traces of Rohypnol, the date rape drug. Also traces of your wife's DNA and fingerprints on the glass. Someone must have put that there. Maybe Elena was what? Drugging herself? I don't know. Maybe someone broke in. Maybe. Mr. Martinez. Detective Chen leaned forward. Your wife clawed her way out of her own grave. She has dirt under her fingernails, soil in her lungs, and injuries consistent with being trapped underground. The coffin has claw marks on the inside. Her grandmother's locket was used to scratch through the lid. She nearly died. And you're sitting here telling me this is all a misunderstanding? Marcus's hands were shaking now. I want a lawyer. You'll get one. But first, I have one more thing to show you. Detective Chen smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. We've located Vanessa Cole, your business partner. She's being brought in for questioning right now. All the color drained from Marcus's face again. Vanessa has nothing to do with this. Really? Because we pulled her phone records. 47 calls between you two in the last month, including 3 calls the night before your wife's death and 2 calls the morning after. What were you two talking about, Mr. Martinez? Business. At 2 in the morning? Marcus looked down at the table. I want a lawyer. I'm not saying anything else without a lawyer. Detective Chen stood up. Fine. Lawyer up. But your wife is alive. Your daughter is safe. And Vanessa is about to tell us everything to save herself. You're done, Marcus. She walked out of the interrogation room and into the observation room where I stood. He's scared, she said. And scared men make mistakes. I stared through the glass at Marcus sitting alone in that room, his head in his hands. Good. Let him be scared. Let him feel a fraction of the terror I felt in that coffin. This was just the beginning. An hour later, Vanessa Cole walked into the police station. She wore a designer pantsuit and high heels, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She looked like she was heading to a business meeting, not a police interrogation. She walked past the front desk with her head high, confident, like she had nothing to worry about. Then she saw me, sitting in the lobby, alive. Vanessa stopped walking. Her expensive leather purse slipped from her shoulder and hit the floor. Her mouth fell open. Her perfectly made-up face went completely white. Hello, Vanessa, I said calmly. She couldn't speak. Just stared at me like I was a ghost, which, I guess in her mind, I was supposed to be. Detective Chen appeared beside her. Miss Cole, thank you for coming in. We have some questions about your relationship with Marcus Martinez. Vanessa tore her eyes away from me and looked at Detective Chen. I don't understand. Marcus said his wife died. He said, she's very much alive. And we need to talk about what you knew and when you knew it. This way, please. They led Vanessa to interrogation room 2. I followed Detective Chen to the observation room and watched through the glass again. Vanessa sat down, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She kept glancing at the mirror, like she knew I might be watching. Detective Chen sat across from her with another folder. She seemed to have an endless supply of folders full of evidence. Miss Cole, how long have you known Marcus Martinez? About 8 months. We're business partners at Henderson Funeral Home. Business partners. Is that all? Vanessa hesitated. We're also in a relationship. Well, he was married. He said his marriage was over. That they were staying together for their daughter but sleeping in separate rooms. That they were planning to divorce. Detective Chen slid phone records across the table. You called him 47 times last month, including the night before Elena Martinez was buried alive. I didn't know about that. I swear I didn't know. What did you think was happening, Miss Cole? Vanessa's voice got quieter. He said she died of heart failure. And you believed him? Vanessa looked down at her hands and said nothing. Detective Chen leaned forward. Here's what I think happened. I think you and Marcus planned this together. I think you knew he was going to kill his wife for the insurance money. I think you were going to split it and start a new life together. And if that's true, you're looking at conspiracy to commit murder. Life in prison. Vanessa's head snapped up. No, that's not what happened. Then tell me what did happen. And just like that, Vanessa started talking. Vanessa's voice was shaking now. Marcus and I were having an affair. Yes, for about 6 months. He told me he loved me, that he wanted to be with me, but divorce wasn't an option. Why not? Detective Chen asked. He said Elena would take everything. The house, his business stake, custody of Sophie. He said she came from money and had expensive lawyers, that he'd end up with nothing. So what was his solution? Vanessa wiped her eyes, smearing her mascara. He said he needed money to start fresh, to build something new. He asked me to invest in a business opportunity. How much did you give him? $80,000. Over 4 months. He said it was going into a new funeral home location, that we'd be partners. Detective Chen made a note. And when did he tell you his wife died? Last Wednesday morning. He called me crying, said Elena collapsed at dinner. Heart attack. That the doctors couldn't save her. He sounded devastated. I believed him. Did you go to the funeral? No. He said it was private, just family. That he'd see me after things settled down. Detective Chen pulled out another document. Miss Cole, do you know Dr. Raymond Chen? Vanessa's face changed. Got careful. Yes. How do you know him? A long pause. He's my ex-boyfriend. We dated 2 years ago. And did you introduce Dr. Chen to Marcus? Vanessa looked at the mirror again. She knew this was the question that would destroy her. The one she couldn't lie about. Yes, she whispered. Detective Chen leaned back in her chair. When? 3 months ago. Marcus said he needed a coroner's professional opinion on something. I didn't think anything of it. What did they discuss? I don't know. They met for coffee. Marcus said it was about funeral home regulations. Detective Chen smiled coldly. Miss Cole, you just admitted to introducing the man who would fake a death certificate to the man who needed one. That makes you an accessory to attempted murder. Vanessa started crying for real now. Ugly crying. Her makeup running down her face. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what Marcus was planning. But you suspected something. Vanessa looked up, tears streaming. Maybe, yes. Maybe I knew something was wrong but I didn't want to see it. Detective Chen slid a legal pad across the table. Write down everything. Every conversation, every meeting, every dollar you gave him, every lie he told you. Everything. And maybe, just maybe, the DA will consider a deal. Vanessa grabbed the pen like it was a lifeline and started writing. While Vanessa wrote her confession, Detective Chen brought me to a private office. She closed the door and sat down across from me with yet another folder. I was starting to hate folders. Elena, I need to show you something. The life insurance policy Marcus took out on you. She opened the folder and slid papers across the desk. I looked at the date. 7 months ago. Right when Marcus met Vanessa. Right when this whole nightmare started. $2 million, Detective Chen said. He took it out without telling you? I knew we had life insurance. We got policies when Sophie was born. But those were only for $250,000 each. I never knew about this one. He paid the premiums from your joint checking account. Small amounts each month. Easy to miss if you weren't looking closely. I thought about all those months. All the times I'd glanced at our bank statements and seen nothing unusual. Marcus had been careful, strategic, hiding his murder plot in plain sight. Detective Chen pulled out more papers. There's something else. Marcus took out a second mortgage on your house 3 months ago. $300,000. My stomach dropped. What? He forged your signature on the loan documents. We confirmed it with a handwriting expert. The money went into an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. We're working with federal authorities to trace it, but most of it's probably gone. Spent or moved. I couldn't breathe. Our house. My grandmother's house that she'd left to me. The house where Sophie took her first steps. Where we'd celebrated every Christmas and birthday. Marcus had stolen it. Mortgaged it without my knowledge or permission. How much do I owe? The mortgage is in both your names, but since your signature was forged, you're not legally responsible. The bank will have to eat the loss. But Elena, this means Marcus's crimes go beyond attempted murder. We're talking federal fraud charges, forgery, money laundering. The FBI is getting involved. How long will he go to prison? Detective Chen looked me straight in the eye. If convicted on all charges? 30 years minimum. Possibly life. 30 years. Marcus would be an old man when he got out. Sophie would be 35. He'd miss her entire childhood, her teenage years, her college graduation, her wedding, everything. Good. He deserved every single year. What happens now? I asked. Now we finish building the case. Vanessa's confession will help. Dr. Chen is already trying to cut a deal, which means he'll testify against Marcus. The evidence is overwhelming. Marcus is done. I should have felt relieved, victorious, but all I felt was exhausted. Detective Chen's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her expression changed. We've got another problem. Detective Chen's face was grim as she read her phone. Marcus's lawyer just arrived. Robert Sterling. The name meant nothing to me. So Robert Sterling is one of the best criminal defense attorneys in the state. Expensive. Very expensive. He gets guilty people off on technicalities. He's already making demands. What kind of demands? He's claiming illegal search and seizure. Says we had no warrant to enter the motel room. He's arguing that your testimony is unreliable because you're traumatized and possibly confused about what actually happened. I stood up so fast my chair fell backward. Confused? I was buried alive. I know. But Sterling is good at creating reasonable doubt. He's already building a narrative that this was all a tragic medical mistake. That Dr. Chen genuinely believed you were dead. That Marcus is a grieving husband who's being persecuted. That's insane. That's defense law. Detective Chen rubbed her temples. There's more. He's demanding Marcus be released on bail. Says his client has no prior criminal record, strong community ties, and a young daughter who needs her father. My blood boiled. Sophie needs her father? Her father buried her mother alive. Elena, I agree with you. But judges sometimes grant bail in cases like this, especially with expensive lawyers involved. The bail hearing is tomorrow morning at 9. We need to be ready. Ready how? We need to make sure every piece of evidence is documented, every witness statement is locked down, every technicality is covered. Sterling will look for any crack in our case, any tiny mistake we made. And if he finds one, he'll use it to get Marcus out on bail or possibly get evidence thrown out entirely. I felt sick. After everything Marcus had done, after I'd literally clawed my way out of my own grave, there was a chance he could walk out of jail tomorrow? He tried to murder me. He kidnapped our daughter. He stole hundreds of thousands of dollars. How is bail even possible? Because the system isn't perfect. Because wealthy people can afford lawyers who know how to work the system. Because until a jury convicts him, Marcus is technically innocent until proven guilty. I wanted to scream. Wanted to throw something. Wanted to march into that jail cell and make Marcus feel every second of terror I'd felt underground. Instead, I took a breath and looked Detective Chen in the eye. What do we need to do to make sure he stays locked up? We need Vanessa's written confession signed and notarized. We need Dr. Chen's testimony locked down before he changes his mind. We need the forensics on the coffin, the dirt samples, your medical records. Everything documented and ready for court by tomorrow morning. Then let's get to work. Detective Chen smiled slightly. You're tougher than Marcus ever gave you credit for. He's about to find out exactly how tough I am. I didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. I spent the entire night at the police station while Sophie slept peacefully in the family room, watched over by Officer Rodriguez. Detective Chen and her team worked through the night. Phones ringing. Computers humming. Coffee brewing constantly. Everyone was exhausted but determined. Vanessa finished her confession at 3 in the morning. 23 pages. Single-spaced. She detailed everything. The affair. The $80,000 she'd given Marcus. How he'd asked her to introduce him to Dr. Chen, claiming he needed advice on funeral home regulations. How Marcus had mentioned several times that problems have solutions when talking about Elena. Did you understand what he meant by that? Detective Chen had asked her. I didn't want to understand, Vanessa had written. But yes, somewhere deep down, I knew he was talking about getting rid of his wife. I just didn't want to believe the man I loved was capable of murder. At 4:30 in the morning, Dr. Chen's lawyer called. The coroner was ready to cooperate fully in exchange for reduced charges. He'd testify that Marcus paid him $30,000 to falsify the death certificate and not perform a proper examination. That Marcus had assured him Elena was already dead from the drugs and this was just paperwork. By 6 in the morning, we had everything organized. The drugged wine bottle with toxicology reports. Bank records showing Marcus's withdrawals and transfers. Vanessa's confession, signed and notarized. Dr. Chen's written statement. The mortgage documents with my forged signature. Photos of the coffin with claw marks on the inside. Dirt samples matching the cemetery soil. My medical records from the hospital showing injuries consistent with being buried alive. Detective Chen laid it all out on the conference table like pieces of a puzzle. Together, they created an undeniable picture of premeditated attempted murder. "This is solid," she said, looking at the evidence. "Sterling is good, but even he can't argue away this much proof." A younger detective brought in more coffee. "The bail hearing is at 9. Judge Morrison is presiding. She's tough but fair." "Morrison is good for us," Detective Chen said. "She doesn't play games with violent offenders." I looked at the clock. 2 hours and 45 minutes until we faced Marcus in court. 2 hours and 45 minutes until a judge decided whether my husband, who'd buried me alive, would walk free on bail or stay locked up where he belonged. Officer Rodriguez appeared in the doorway. "Mrs. Martinez, Sophie's awake. She's asking for you." I went to the family room. Sophie was sitting on the couch rubbing her eyes, her hair messy, still wearing her unicorn pajamas. "Mommy, where are we?" "We're at the police station, baby. Remember? We found you last night." "Why is Daddy here? Did he do something bad?" How do you explain to a 5-year-old that her father tried to murder her mother? That everything she'd been told for the past week was a lie? "Daddy made some very bad choices, sweetheart. The police need to talk to him about it." "Is he going to jail?" "Maybe. Probably." Sophie's eyes filled with tears. "But then who will take care of us?" I pulled her into my arms. "I will, baby. Mommy's here now. I'm not going anywhere ever again. I promise." She buried her face in my shoulder and cried. Not for Marcus. For the life she'd known. The life that was over now. At 8:45, we headed to the courthouse. The courtroom was packed. News reporters lined the back row with cameras and notepads. Curious people who'd heard about the case filled every seat. The woman who was buried alive. It was already making headlines. I sat in the front row with Sophie next to Officer Rodriguez. Detective Chen sat on my other side. She'd brought the entire evidence file in 3 large boxes. At exactly 9 o'clock, a door opened and they brought Marcus in. He wore an Orange County Jail jumpsuit. His hands were cuffed in front of him. His hair was messy. He had dark circles under his eyes. He looked exhausted, defeated, nothing like the confident man who'd kissed me goodbye every morning. His eyes found mine across the courtroom. I stared back, my face blank. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing my fear or my anger. Robert Sterling stood beside Marcus at the defense table. Expensive suit, perfectly styled gray hair, confident smile. He looked like he'd never lost a case in his life. "All rise." The Honorable Judge Rebecca Morrison presiding. We all stood. Judge Morrison entered, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no-nonsense expression. She sat down and looked over her glasses at both lawyers. "Be seated. This is a bail hearing for Marcus James Martinez, charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, fraud, and forgery. Mr. Sterling, your argument for bail?" Sterling stood smoothly. "Thank you, Your Honor. My client is a respected businessman with deep roots in this community. He owns a home here, operates a successful funeral home, and has a 5-year-old daughter who desperately needs her father. Mr. Martinez has no prior criminal record, not even a parking ticket. The charges against him are based on circumstantial evidence and the confused testimony of his wife, who recently experienced severe trauma." I gripped the armrest of my seat so hard my knuckles turned white. "The prosecution claims my client buried his wife alive," Sterling continued. "But Mrs. Martinez is sitting right here, alive and well. If my client truly intended to kill her, he failed spectacularly. This suggests either incompetence or, more likely, that this was a tragic medical misdiagnosis, not attempted murder. My client believed his wife was dead based on a doctor's assessment. He's a grieving husband being prosecuted for something that was ultimately a terrible mistake." Sterling sat down, looking pleased with himself. The prosecutor stood. A woman named Amanda Chen, no relation to Detective Chen. She was younger than Sterling but had fire in her eyes. "Your Honor, the defense's characterization of this case is not just wrong, it's insulting. Marcus Martinez didn't fail to kill his wife. His wife survived despite his best efforts through sheer determination and luck." She walked to the evidence table and held up the wine bottle in a clear evidence bag. This bottle contained Rohypnol, a powerful sedative. "Mrs. Martinez's DNA and fingerprints are on the glass. Mr. Martinez drugged his wife, rendering her unconscious." She held up another document. "This is a death certificate signed by Dr. Raymond Chen, who has confessed to being paid $30,000 by the defendant to falsify this document without performing a proper examination." Another document. "This is a life insurance policy for $2 million that Mr. Martinez took out on his wife 7 months ago without her knowledge." Another. "These are mortgage documents with Mrs. Martinez's forged signature. $300,000 stolen from her home." Another. "This is a 23-page confession from Vanessa Cole, the defendant's mistress, detailing his plan and her involvement." Judge Morrison's expression was getting darker with each piece of evidence. "And finally, Your Honor, We have evidence that Mr. Martinez opened offshore accounts and researched countries with no extradition treaties. He is an extreme flight risk. Prosecutor Chin sat down. Judge Morrison looked at Marcus for a long moment, then at Sterling, then at the evidence stacked on the table. Mr. Sterling, she said slowly, does your client have anything to say? Sterling leaned over and whispered urgently to Marcus. They had a heated, quiet conversation. Finally, Marcus nodded and stood up slowly, his handcuffs clinking. Your Honor, Marcus said, his voice shaking. I loved my wife. I still love her. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. Dr. Chin told me Elena was dead. I trusted him. He's a medical professional. Why would I question his diagnosis? Judge Morrison's face remained expressionless. I planned a funeral because I thought my wife had died, Marcus continued. I was grieving. I was in shock. And yes, I took Sophie and left town, but only because I couldn't bear to stay in our house without Elena. I needed to clear my head. I needed to process my grief. His voice cracked, tears forming in his eyes. It was a good performance. If I hadn't been buried alive by him, I might have even believed it. I would never hurt Elena. Never. She's the mother of my child, the love of my life. Please, Your Honor, let me go home. Let me take care of my daughter. Sophie needs her father. She's already lost so much. Sophie squeezed my hand. She was watching her father with confused, scared eyes. Marcus sat down. Sterling looked confident again, like he'd just won the case. Judge Morrison adjusted her glasses and looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Martinez, you claim you acted in good faith, that you believed your wife was dead, that you were simply a grieving husband. Yes, Your Honor. Then explain to me why, the moment you realized there might be a problem, you withdrew $50,000 in cash, packed your belongings, took your daughter, and fled across state lines in the middle of the night? Marcus opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Explain why you researched countries with no extradition treaties if you're innocent. Silence. Explain why you forged your wife's signature on mortgage documents months before her supposed death. More silence. Innocent men don't run, Mr. Martinez. Innocent men don't create elaborate escape plans. Innocent men don't pay off coroners to falsify death certificates. Judge Morrison's voice was cold as steel. You didn't act like a grieving husband. You acted like a man who knew exactly what he'd done and was trying to get away with it. She picked up her gavel. Bail is denied. The defendant will remain in custody until trial. The evidence of flight risk and danger to the community is overwhelming. Furthermore, given that you used your 5-year-old daughter as a shield when police attempted to arrest you, I'm ordering supervised visitation only, pending a full custody evaluation. The gavel came down with a sharp crack. No, Marcus shouted, standing up. You can't do this. I'm innocent. Guards moved toward him. Elena. Marcus turned to look at me, and for the first time, the mask completely fell away. His face twisted with rage, with hatred, with pure venom. You bitch. You were supposed to die. You ruined everything. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scrambled to write down his words. People gasped. Sophie started crying. You stupid, worthless. A guard grabbed Marcus's arm, but he kept screaming. I should have made sure. I should have checked. I hope you rot for this. They dragged him toward the door, still screaming, still cursing, showing everyone in that courtroom exactly who he really was. Judge Morrison banged her gavel repeatedly. Order. Order in this court. The door slammed behind Marcus, muffling his screams. The courtroom fell silent. Judge Morrison looked at me with something like sympathy. Mrs. Martinez, I'm sorry you had to hear that. Bailiff, please escort Mrs. Martinez and her daughter out through the side exit. Avoid the media. I stood up on shaking legs, holding Sophie tight against me. As we walked out, I heard Sterling frantically asking for a recess, claiming his client was under emotional duress. But it was too late. Marcus had shown his true face, and everyone had seen it. Officer Rodriguez led us out through a side door of the courthouse, away from the mob of reporters shouting questions. She drove us to a safe house the police department kept for witnesses and victims who needed protection. It was a small apartment on the 3rd floor of an unmarked building. Plain furniture, blank walls, but it was quiet and safe. Sophie immediately went to the couch and curled up with the stuffed unicorn Officer Rodriguez had brought from our house. My phone started buzzing nonstop. Detective Chen was calling. Elena, Marcus's outburst is everywhere. Someone recorded it on their phone. It's all over social media, every news channel. He screamed his confession in open court. His lawyer is trying to claim emotional breakdown, but it's too late. The jury pool has already seen it. The DA thinks this case just became a lot easier to prosecute. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just exhaustion. There's more, Detective Chen continued. The DA's office wants to assign you a victim advocate. Someone to help you navigate the legal system, arrange counseling for you and Sophie, help with finances while everything gets sorted out. Her name is Patricia Reeves. She's very good. Okay. Thank you. How are you holding up? I looked at Sophie on the couch, still in her pajamas, clutching her unicorn, her whole world shattered. I'm not sure yet. Get some rest. We'll talk tomorrow. That evening, after Officer Rodriguez brought us dinner and clean clothes, I sat down next to Sophie. She hadn't spoken much since the courtroom. Just quiet, withdrawn, confused. Sophie, baby, we need to talk about Daddy. She looked up at me with those big green eyes. Is Daddy sick? Like crazy sick? No, sweetheart. Daddy made some very bad choices. He did things that hurt people. Hurt Mommy. What did he do? I chose my words carefully. Daddy tried to hurt me very badly. He gave me medicine that made me sleep, and then he told everyone I died, but I didn't die. I woke up and came back. And now Daddy has to go to jail because what he did was against the law. Sophie's bottom lip trembled. Did he try to hurt me too? No, baby. Never. Daddy loves you in his own way. But he made really, really bad choices, and now he has to be punished for them. How long will he be in jail? A very long time. Maybe forever. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Is it my fault? Did I do something wrong? My heart broke into a million pieces. I pulled her into my lap and held her tight. No, Sophie. None of this is your fault. Nothing. Daddy's choices are his choices. You are perfect and good and none of this has anything to do with you. But why would Daddy hurt you? You're nice. You're the nicest mommy. Sometimes grown-ups do bad things for bad reasons. Daddy wanted money more than he wanted to do the right thing. And that's not okay. That's never okay. We sat there holding each other while Sophie cried. She cried for her father. For her normal life that was gone. For the safety she'd lost. I cried too. For my daughter's innocence. For the family we'd never be again. For everything Marcus had destroyed with his greed. But underneath the grief, I felt something else growing. Strength. Determination. Anger that was transforming into power. Marcus thought burying me would be the end of my story. But he was wrong. This was just the beginning. 3 months passed like a strange dream. Some days felt normal. Some days felt like I was still buried underground, suffocating, unable to breathe. Sophie and I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Safe. Away from the house where Marcus had drugged me, away from the memories. We both started therapy. Sophie saw a child psychologist twice a week. Dr. Kim was patient and kind, using dolls and drawings to help Sophie process what had happened. The nightmares were getting less frequent. Sophie was starting to smile again, making friends at her new school. I saw a trauma therapist named Dr. Allen. She specialized in victims of violent crimes. At first, I couldn't talk about the coffin without hyperventilating. Now I could get through the story without breaking down. Progress, she called it. Patricia Reeves, my victim advocate, checked on us weekly. She helped me navigate the legal system, apply for victim compensation funds, and understand my rights. She was a lifeline when everything felt overwhelming. The trial date is set, Patricia told me over coffee one afternoon. 6 weeks from now. Are you ready? I don't think anyone's ever ready to testify against their husband for trying to murder them. But yes, I'm ready. The prosecution's case is incredibly strong. Vanessa Cole agreed to testify in exchange for 5 years instead of 20. Dr. Chen is testifying too, got 10 years for his role. With their testimony plus all the physical evidence, the DA thinks conviction is almost guaranteed. Almost. That word hung in the air. Almost wasn't certain. Sterling was still trying every legal trick to get evidence suppressed, to delay the trial, to create doubt. Patricia set down her coffee. There's something else. The forensic accountants found another account in Marcus's name. A third account you didn't know about. My stomach dropped. How much? $112,000. Hidden in a credit union under his mother's maiden name. The court has frozen it. It'll be returned to you after the trial. More stolen money. More lies. Would they ever stop uncovering his secrets? Elena, you should also know that Marcus's assets are being liquidated to pay restitution. The funeral home, his car, everything. Combined with the insurance money and the recovered funds, you'll be financially stable. More than stable. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted my life back. Wanted Sophie to feel safe again. Wanted to stop waking up at 3 in the morning in a cold sweat. Convinced I was back in that coffin. That afternoon, I met with my own lawyer, Jennifer Walsh. She was handling my divorce from Marcus and making sure I got everything I was legally entitled to. The divorce will be finalized after the criminal trial, Jennifer explained. But we're filing now so it's ready. Full custody of Sophie to you, obviously. Marcus gets nothing. No visitation until Sophie is 18 and decides for herself. The house, the car, the recovered funds, all yours. Marcus will owe you alimony and child support, though good luck collecting while he's in prison. I don't want his money. I just want him gone from our lives. Jennifer smiled. You'll get both. By the time we're done, Marcus Martinez will have nothing. No money, no freedom, no family, no future. exactly what he deserved. That night, I tucked Sophie into bed. She looked up at me with sleepy eyes. "Mommy, are you going to be okay?" I kissed her forehead. "Yes, baby. We're both going to be okay. I promise." And for the first time since I woke up in that coffin, I actually believed it. The trial began on a cold Monday morning in November. The courthouse was packed again, even more crowded than the bail hearing. News vans lined the street outside. Reporters fought for seats. This was the trial everyone wanted to see. I sat in the witness waiting room with Patricia while the opening statements happened. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Detective Chen sat with me, calm and steady. "You've got this," she said. "Just tell the truth. That's all you have to do." They called me to the stand at 10:30. I walked through the courtroom, past the jury box where 12 strangers would decide Marcus's fate, past the defense table where Marcus sat in a suit looking nothing like the monster who'd buried me. I placed my hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor, Amanda Chen, approached with a gentle smile. "Mrs. Martinez, can you tell the jury what happened on the evening of Tuesday, August 15th? I took a breath and told my story. The wine Marcus poured, how the room started spinning, collapsing, waking up in complete darkness inside a coffin 6 feet underground. The terror, the suffocation, clawing at the wood until my fingers bled, using my grandmother's locket to scratch through the lid, digging through dirt for hours, breaking through to the surface." Several jurors were crying. One woman covered her mouth, horrified. I told them about finding the perfume in Marcus's car, the fake jewelry, the Canada application, the life insurance policy, everything. "And Mrs. Martinez, do you see the person who did this to you in this courtroom today?" "Yes." I pointed directly at Marcus. "My husband, Marcus Martinez." Amanda sat down. Now came the hard part. Robert Sterling stood up for cross-examination. He smiled at me like we were old friends. "Mrs. Martinez, you've been through a terrible trauma. No one disputes that. But isn't it possible you're confused about some details?" "No. You were unconscious, possibly hallucinating from the drugs. How can you be certain it was your husband who gave you the wine?" "Because I watched him pour it. I watched him hand it to me. I watched him smile while I drank it. I'm certain." Sterling paced. "Isn't it possible Dr. Chen made a genuine mistake? That you appeared dead and everyone acted in good faith?" "No. Because Marcus paid him $30,000 to lie. That's not a mistake. That's conspiracy." "Objection, Your Honor." Speculation. Sustained. Sterling continued for an hour, trying to find cracks in my story. But there were no cracks. I'd lived it. I remembered every detail, every moment of terror. When I finally stepped down, I felt exhausted but strong. I'd told my truth. The jury had heard it. Next came Vanessa Cole. She looked smaller than I remembered, broken. She testified about the affair, the money she'd given Marcus, how he'd asked her to introduce him to Dr. Chen. "Did Marcus ever discuss his wife with you?" Amanda asked. "Yes. He said she was the obstacle, that she stood between him and the life he wanted. He said problems had solutions." "Did you understand what he meant?" Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, I knew he wanted her gone. I just didn't want to believe he'd actually do it." Then Dr. Chen testified. He described Marcus approaching him, offering money, explaining exactly what he needed. A death certificate without an examination. No questions asked. "Why did you agree?" Amanda asked. "I needed the money. I had gambling debts. Marcus knew that and exploited it. I'm not making excuses. What I did was wrong. But Marcus Martinez orchestrated everything." The prosecution presented the physical evidence next. Photos of the coffin's interior, showing deep scratch marks. The locket, bent and damaged from being used as a tool. The wine bottle with toxicology reports. Bank statements. Forged documents. The offshore accounts. By day 3, even Sterling looked worried. His defense was weak, relying entirely on Marcus's denials and character witnesses who clearly didn't know him at all. On day 5, Marcus took the stand. Sterling had advised against it, you could see it on his face, but Marcus insisted. He thought he could charm the jury like he'd charmed everyone else his whole life. He wore a navy suit and a sad expression. He spoke in a quiet, pained voice about losing his wife, about the grief, about being falsely accused. "I loved Elena with all my heart," he said, looking at the jury. "When Dr. Chen told me she was gone, my world ended. I planned her funeral. I mourned her. And then I find out she's alive and accusing me of trying to kill her. It's insane. It's cruel. I would never hurt her." "What about the money, Mr. Martinez?" Sterling asked. "The offshore accounts? I was protecting our assets. Elena's father never trusted me. I wanted to make sure Sophie and Elena would be taken care of if something happened to me. The Canada application? I was exploring business opportunities, considering expansion. That's all." When Sterling sat down, Amanda Chen stood up with a predator's smile. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. "Mr. Martinez, you claim you loved your wife. Yet you were having an affair with Vanessa Cole for months. How do you explain that? Marcus shifted in his seat. That was a mistake. A moment of weakness. A 6-month-long moment? I was confused. Our marriage had problems. What problems? Your wife cooked for you, raised your daughter, supported your career. What exactly was the problem? We'd grown apart. So apart that you needed to bury her alive? I didn't. You didn't what? You didn't drug her? We have the toxicology report. You didn't pay off Dr. Chen? We have the bank transfers. You didn't flee with $50,000? We have video of you loading suitcases into your car. Marcus's face was getting red. You're twisting everything. Am I? Let me read your own words from the bail hearing. Amanda picked up a transcript. You said, and I quote, "You were supposed to die. You ruined everything. I should have made sure." Does that sound like a grieving husband who thought his wife died naturally? I was upset. I wasn't thinking clearly. Or were you thinking very clearly? Were you angry that your plan failed? That Elena survived despite your best efforts? No. Why did you research countries with no extradition treaties if you're innocent? I didn't. We have your laptop. Your search history. Brazil, Mexico, Costa Rica. All researched the week before you buried your wife. Marcus stood up, his voice rising. You're putting words in my mouth. Sit down, Mr. Martinez, Judge Morrison ordered. Marcus sat, breathing hard, his composure completely gone. Amanda continued for 3 hours, methodically destroying every lie, every excuse, every defense Marcus tried to construct. By the time she finished, Marcus looked defeated, cornered, exposed. The jury watched him with open disgust. Closing arguments came next. Amanda summarized the overwhelming evidence. Sterling made a desperate plea about reasonable doubt. But everyone in that courtroom knew the truth. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. 4 hours that felt like 4 years. I sat in the waiting room with Sophie, who was being watched by Patricia in another room. Detective Chen stayed with me. Officer Rodriguez brought coffee I couldn't drink. My phone buzzed. Patricia. They're coming back. My heart stopped. 4 hours. That was fast. We filed back into the courtroom. The jury entered, their faces serious, unreadable. None of them looked at Marcus. That was a good sign, Patricia had told me. Guilty juries don't look at defendants. Judge Morrison addressed the jury foreman. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On the charge of attempted murder in the first degree, how do you find? The foreman looked at the paper in his hand. The entire courtroom held its breath. Guilty. The word rang through the courtroom like a bell. Clear. Final. Undeniable. On the charge of kidnapping in the first degree, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of fraud in the first degree? Guilty. On the charge of forgery? Guilty. The courtroom erupted. Gasps. Whispers. Someone behind me said, "Thank God." Reporters rushed to their phones. Marcus sat completely still at the defense table, his face blank, like his brain couldn't process what was happening. Sterling put his hand on Marcus's shoulder, but Marcus didn't move, didn't react. I broke down. Weeks of holding everything together, being strong for Sophie, testifying, waiting, all of it crashed over me at once. I sobbed into my hands while Detective Chen put her arm around me. "It's over," she whispered. "It's finally over." Judge Morrison banged her gavel. "Order. Order in this court." She looked at Marcus with cold eyes. "Mr. Martinez, the jury has found you guilty on all counts. Sentencing is scheduled for 3 weeks from today. You will remain in custody until that time. This court is adjourned." Guards approached Marcus and put handcuffs on him. He finally seemed to wake up, to realize what had happened. He looked around the courtroom frantically, and his eyes found mine. I met his gaze and felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. No love. Nothing. He'd tried to erase me from existence, but I'd survived, and now he was the one being erased. They led him away. This time he didn't scream or curse. He just walked out, a broken man heading to prison. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded us, cameras flashing, microphones pushed forward, questions shouted from every direction. Patricia stepped forward. "Mrs. Martinez will make a brief statement. No questions." I stood on the courthouse steps with Patricia beside me. Behind us, Detective Chen and Officer Rodriguez. I looked at the cameras and the crowd and took a breath. Today, justice was served. My husband tried to kill me for money, and a jury of 12 people saw through his lies. I want to thank the police, the prosecutors, and everyone who believed me and fought for me. I especially want to thank the groundskeeper who found me that night. She saved my life. I paused, gathering my thoughts. To anyone out there in a bad situation, with someone who hurts you or lies to you or makes you feel unsafe, please know this. You are not stuck. You are stronger than you think. And there are people who will help you. Don't be afraid to reach out. I looked directly into the main camera. Marcus thought burying me would be the end of my story. But it was just the beginning. I survived. My daughter and I are building a new life. And we're going to be okay. Patricia led me away before the reporters could shout more questions. 6 weeks later, at the sentencing hearing, Marcus received 35 years in prison without the possibility of parole. He'd be 71 years old when he got out, if he lived that long. I didn't attend. I'd already moved on. Sophie and I were living in our apartment, building routines, creating new memories. She was thriving in school, laughing again, playing with friends. The nightmares had mostly stopped. I'd started the Elena Martinez Foundation with some of the recovered money, helping women escape dangerous situations and rebuild their lives. Women who'd been buried in different ways, metaphorically, financially, emotionally. Women who needed someone to believe them and help them claw their way out. One evening, Sophie and I sat on our small balcony watching the sunset. She held her stuffed unicorn and leaned against me. "Mommy, are you happy now?" I thought about that question. Was I happy? Not yet. Not completely. The trauma was still there, probably always would be. But I was healing, growing, living. I'm getting there, baby. Every day, I'm getting there. Me too, Sophie said quietly. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn orange and pink. Marcus had tried to bury me, tried to erase me from the world so he could take my money and start over with someone new. But I'd fought my way back, clawed through 6 feet of dirt, survived the impossible. And now, while Marcus sat in a prison cell counting down 35 years, I was free. Free to live, free to love my daughter, free to help others, free to build something beautiful from the ashes of what he destroyed. Marcus thought greed would give him everything. Instead, it cost him everything. And me? I rose from my own grave. That's a kind of power he'll never understand.